Ooh, what's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 79 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the Elasopus to my mess store, Lester Jones.
You gotta take that, dude? He called you an Elasopus.
That's Elastigirls downtown.
I almost, made you mess store because it rhymes with Lester. But I'm like, I don't want to be a Elasopus. And of course, we got the ninth wonder, Chocolate Thunder, the Prince of Principles, the Earl of Ethics. He never steals, he never curses, he only fingers prison purses. The phenomenal A.J. Sid.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, man, what have you guys been doing this week? Anything?
I have a very bad problem of watching movies over and over again.
You do that, don't you?
I do that a lot, man. Like, new movies I don't even add to my rotation. I just go back to like, oh, that's a favorite, I'll watch that, you know? So I watched Edge of Tomorrow, which isn't even one of my favorite movies, but it does have... Like, you can rewatch that movie just because most of the movie is like just recycling stuff over and over again.
What is that movie?
It's where Tom Cruise, like, he starts out as a major, but he's like not really, he's kind of like a scumbag, and he gets in trouble and gets sent to fight a war against these aliens that are attacking Earth.
Is that the one where it's like a video game? He dies and
He dies and comes back over and over again. Yeah,
I didn't watch it. I remember the preview.
yeah. I don't know why, but I watched that movie and it was fine.
Yeah, I remember watching it and it seemed like it was fine. I only watched it the one time. But yeah, that movie had like some marketing weirdness because it was named Edge of Tomorrow, but then when they put it out on like video, they basically called it Live, Die, Repeat.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I guess based on like, I think like maybe a manga or a book that's called All You Need Is Kill. I'm like, well, that's a much cooler name. All You Need Is Kill.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird sometimes the things they name things.
Yeah. It seems like such a propaganda film to like sign up for the military. You know?
And you can die a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, you can die an endless amount of time for your country.
It kind of takes the risk reward thing out of the equation.
Well, if you watch the movie, they kind of introduce like death back into it at some point.
Okay.
They had to.
I guess living and dying forever is not incredibly palatable.
No.
I just want to get old and die once.
Well, I don't know. They don't explain what happens with regards to his aging and how long he'll live, actually.
Oh.
But he just... So you're not going to watch the movie, are you?
Probably not.
All right, so there's this alien blood that he kills an alien, it gets into his body.
Okay.
So because of that, every time he dies, the alien thinks one of my things is dying, so I have to reset the day. So it starts time over again for that day, and it restarts the fight, and the war continues that way. And he can change things based on his knowledge of what's already happened, but so can the organism that's fighting against him. So it's kind of like a race to figure that out. That was Edge of Tomorrow. I watched John Wick again because they're not going to come out with another one until 2023. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to get my fix now. Yeah, that was good. I liked it. And I watched a little bit of Archive 81, which just came out on Netflix. It was trending as like number 2 most watched that day that I put it on, so I put it on. And
I thought about that one, and then I hadn't made a decision yet.
It's not bad. It's actually pretty interesting, but it's one of those shows that it gets kind of quiet at times, and you pick up your phone, and you start watching that, and
then you're lost.
You get distracted. So you got to be ready for the downtime in the show too. Not bad though. I liked it.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
What about you?
I don't know. I've been watching old like Ink Masters and stuff, so nothing too crazy. I don't know if I brought this up last week. I watched a Western called One-Eyed Jack.
I don't think you talked about that.
It's the only movie Marlon Brando ever directed, and for whatever reason, it slipped into the public domain, so you can watch it on YouTube for free. But it was actually pretty good. And I was kind of surprised I'd never heard of it, but yeah. One-Eyed Jacks, if you're up for a decent Western.
Does he act in it or do you just direct?
He's basically the lead. There's one other pretty important character.
I didn't watch a ton of new stuff, but my HBO subscription was running out, so I'm like, oh, maybe I'll take one last look at the movies that are on here. So actually, one you pointed out to me is that movie, The Nobody, or maybe it's just called The Nobody. I think it's just Nobody.
Mr. Nobody? Or
just
something?
Nobody.
Bob
Nobody.
Odenkirk.
Yeah. And like it was fine. You can definitely tell like they were inspired by John Wick. They're like, oh, let's make John Wick, it's basically like, what if John Wick was more of a family man, you know? And so he plays this guy that, you know, appears to be a nobody that's in this kind of routine job that he doesn't like or whatever. But then eventually, as the movie goes on, you find out he has this like secret past where he was like this kind of like hitman that worked for like the government basically, and he's like this badass, you know. And it turns into like kind of a light, you know, or like, you know, an action movie basically. The action's not as well choreographed as something like a John Wick movie, but it was still fun. It's totally watchable, but I don't think it's like essential or anything. And then there was also this movie on there called The Hunt, which came out a couple years ago, which is basically about this like group of like elitist liberals who hunt. They basically gather up a group of who they view as deplorables, like rednecks, you know, and hunt them. And like, I don't even know what the message of the movie was. I think it was just that like liberals can be as bad as conservatives. It was kind of the point of the movie. I mean, they don't like the conservative rednecks. They have like the majority of them, except for like kind of the main woman. They're like, most of them are kind of shitty. Like the ones that have like lines where they actually get a chance to talk. Like they don't treat them well either. It's not like a pro like hillbilly, like it's not like a pro-right anti-left movie, but it does seem to have the
We're the real victims.
yeah, it does seem to have the message though that like, you know,
hillbilly. I never heard that term before.
it does seem to have like the message that, hey, like being on either extreme is kind of shitty, maybe, you know. It was fine. It was okay. I think there was actually some controversy when the movie first came out. Like at first, like maybe they had trouble getting a distributor or something, and like because of like the politicalness of the movie. I remember there was some sort of controversy, and then it eventually came out anyway.
I mean, I guess you'd have a hard time selling it because you're like, we're attacking everybody.
Maybe that was it. Maybe that was it.
That wasn't like. I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of a different one. There was one with Bobcat Goldthwait where like he and this chick ran around just shooting everybody who was like a horrible person.
No, that was not this. That was not this.
I don't remember what that was. It was some kind of satire.
No, I don't know what that was. Remember that sitcom in the 90s we watched all the time where he was the voice of Mr. Floppy the Rabbit?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hit the road,
Hit
Jack.
the road, Jack.
Yeah.
What was it? Unhappily Ever After.
That was it. That was it.
Yeah. They really had a thing for Drew Barrymore on that show.
I would watch that show all day just for the sister.
For Nikki Cox.
Oh, yeah.
Good memories.
That was basically Married with Children, just like a knockoff.
Very similar, yeah. They were definitely...
Same family structure.
They were definitely going for a take on that, I think. I'd be curious to watch it again just to see if it sucks, because like teenage me or whatever liked it, but it probably was shitty.
Yeah, you only liked it because of the sister.
Probably. Anything else you guys want to talk about, or before we get into the show?
I just found out that the combination of cards in a 52 card deck is so high that every time you shuffle, it might be the first time that combination's ever been arranged in that way.
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
You mean like in the history of forever?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting, actually.
There are card mechanics who can shuffle things on purpose, but yeah, if you have a purely random shuffle, the odds of the ordering of the deck is statistically probably only ever happened that time you did it.
Because, I mean, mathematically, you could figure out,
Yeah, it's 52 factorial. It's
Yeah.
gigantic.
that is a lot of combos. But, I mean, when were cards invented? Like the 1800s?
I would
They
have thought
definitely
way
existed
before
in the
then.
1800s.
I don't know.
But yeah, consistent paper printing. Yeah.
Any other cool factoids before we get into things? I'm just trying to burn time, I think. Well, anyone who hasn't listened or watched before, basically we're just going to go around. Everyone's going to bring a news story or topic conversation to the table. And we'll see if we can't make something funny or entertaining out of it. And as tradition dictates, AJ, we usually start with you. So what do you got for us this week?
All right. U.S. lab is freezing bodies in hope of bringing them back to life. We've all seen the films where people freeze themselves in tanks and wake up many decades or centuries later. Well, this is sort of a fantasy rebirth of a... What is it? If this sort of fantasy rebirth is a dream of yours, then there is a facility looking to make it a reality. Alcor Life Extension Foundation was founded in Scottsdale, Arizona in 1972 and describes itself as the world leader in cryonics research, and cryonics technology. The lab freezes the bodies or heads of the clinically dead by slowly lowering their... I think they meant slowly lowering their body temperature and storing them in giant vessels or insulated metal drawers of liquid nitrogen, which will serve as their new negative 196 degrees Celsius homes for many decades to come. The ambulances to the future. The idea or hope is that with advancing technology, they may one day be able to be revived. It may seem far-fetched, but those who buy into it clearly feel that it's more likely than living beyond the grave or cremation, according to the Mirror. There are already 200 frozen heads and bodies being stored there. That said, it's hardly as affordable as a burial. Indeed, you'll probably have to be confident enough to leave your family with barely any inheritance, as a full-body cryonic preservation will set you back around $220,000, while a neuropreservation, aka just the head, will cost you about $80,000. One of the many insulated metal drawers that holds the bodies... Oh, it's just a picture of it. Alcor was founded by Linda and Fred Chamberlain with the noble goal of saving lives. Speaking to CNET in 2020, Linda said, "Our goals were to start an organization that could save people's lives and give them an opportunity to be restored to health and function. If we'd known how hard it was going to be, we might not have tried to do it. But once you get started, there's something about saving lives you can't give up."
Something about freezing people's heads.
Yeah. Something about making $220,000 off a body. Legal death only really means that your heart and your lungs have stopped functioning without intervention. It doesn't mean your cells are dead. It doesn't mean even your organs are dead. Our best estimates are that within 50 to 100 years, we will have the medical technologies needed to restore our patients to health and function. I'm an optimist. Well, if she's right, it certainly doesn't look good for the planet and the growing problem of human overpopulation.
But I mean, doesn't it like your brain, like after it's deprived of oxygen for whatever, and you go like, isn't your brain just ruined?
Well, actually, it talks about that here. A cryopreserver, filling a container to hold a neuropatient's brain with. Oh, it's just a picture. No, it doesn't talk about what will happen to the brain. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know, like, if it in normal life, if the brain goes without, certain functions, it's never going to be the same. It deteriorates.
Right.
But if it's frozen, I don't know if the rules are different. No,
I have no idea.
I mean, it would seem like it would have to be frozen like right away.
yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think this is just taking rich people's money. I don't think they're ever going to make anything of this.
Yeah, I mean, even like saying 50 to 100 years they'll be able to solve these problems, like,
Yeah, no way.
that seems, very optimistic.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I mean, certain animals can be frozen. So maybe if you steal some of their genetics, you can start freezing people without fucking them up too much.
Oh, like start splicing our DNA with
Their DNA
their
into our
DNA.
DNA.
That might be more feasible, even though it's
Yeah.
probably still impossible.
Because like even if you think about it, if you froze them for like 100 years, we'd probably get like new diseases in that time, and they're not like immune to them.
so it's like, we brought you back to life. Oh, you're dead.
Yeah, you got AIDS, you got super AIDS.
You guys remember that movie? I think it was called Awakenings or something like that, where like people would go into like a comatose state, and like this doctor found a way to bring them out, but it only lasted like a certain period of time, and they'd start going back in.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
They'd go back in. Why?
Like I don't think he figured it out, but he was like super frustrating. I don't know.
It actually reminds me of that movie Forever Young with Mel Gibson.
Oh yeah,
Which I actually really liked that movie, like as a kid. But then I watched it again, like maybe like I don't know, 6 years ago or so, and like I feel like it starts like okay, like the plot is like his fiance gets like hit by a car and she's in a coma, and he like can't take like the pain that is putting him through, and like his buddy just happens to work for the government and is working on like a cryo program like this.
Oh, wow.
So he agrees to like freeze him until his wife comes out of the coma, but then his buddy dies of a heart attack, and he just ends up in like this military storage, you know, forever until the 90s when they unfreeze him. And basically cutting to the end of the movie, like he basically finds out that his fiance like came out of the coma and like a long time ago, and now she's like an old woman, so he goes to see her. And so like the first 10 minutes of the movie are okay, and then like that last bit is okay, but everything in between is just terrible. So there's like, maybe they should remake that movie and just change everything in the middle.
Can you imagine like going out in like 1970 and then just like waking up in today's world?
It would be pretty crazy, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think he told a story on the podcast once of a guy that was like in prison for that long.
Right, he was in jail. since,
And
like,
it was the same
1970s.
thing, like kind of a culture shock when he came out.
You'd think like you'd still have some exposure, but yeah.
I mean,
completely-
TV is the only gateway to that stuff.
Yeah, some prisons have TV, some don't. So I don't know.
Man, prisons without TV, that's tough.
That should only be reserved for the worst criminals.
Yeah.
It would seem like it'd be an easy way to keep people kind of docile. It's like
Yeah.
you can go to your room and watch TV.
That's true. They probably have less prison violence if they just had more TVs.
Yeah.
Everybody would just be like, fuck off. I'm watching RuPaul's Drag Race.
I mean, if you're fucking around, the guard comes around and grounds you from your TV.
Yeah.
No, I promise I'll be good.
That's what you said last time, Jerome.
Or you could be in one of those like Swedish jails, which is basically like your own condo. You ever see those?
Oh, I haven't.
They have like a really nice setup. It looks like they have their own apartment basically, with all the furnishings.
It'd be funny, like in this TV like prison, and they're like, "Oh, you must behave. We're sticking you in the hole," and it's just like a room with a bunch of books. He's like, "No."
Prisoners do read a lot of books, though.
They do, yeah. I mean, I would too if it's like the only thing you can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd probably be slaying some books.
I heard they get cell phones in there now.
Some of them might, yeah.
Man, I mean,
If you have a cell phone, you have everything these days.
yeah,
If you have
Some
a
of them
good cell
smuggle them in.
smell like shit. But
Yeah.
Getting shitty reception.
You've got another visitor, loose ass Tony.
He's visiting everybody.
How'd you get that iPad?
Imagine like your reception sucks in prison. You got like Verizon. You're like, man, I gotta call this company and deal with this. Cell block D, okay? Cell block D.
Oh man. Well, you got a shitty story for us?
Not shitty. This is one of my favorite subgenres of headlines. The old vigilante justice.
Okay.
Texas stepfather beaten to death by teen brothers and friend when they find out that he's molesting their sister. So yeah, stepdad comes in, and then like the two sons and one of their friends, like apparently they kicked the shit out of him like a few times before dumping in the desert, and he died there.
I feel like the friend just joined in for the heck of it.
It's like, can I get in on this? Yeah. They're never gonna convict me. Come on.
That's like a free ability to kill someone when you find out they're a pedo.
Yeah. So did these guys like confess, or did someone actually find the body?
I think he was found, and I don't know. It wasn't like it was obvious, I guess.
I feel like with some like deserts, like if you took someone like far enough in, like nobody would ever find them.
Yeah, like I drove through so many places, and like if you just went out there and dug like a foothold like 20 feet off the road, no one would ever find you. Or just leave you out there and let the pigs eat them or something. It's like, yeah.
Anything more on that story?
Nope, just a quick one.
Well, speaking of death, I found this article here about 5 funerals that went horribly wrong. Number 1.
Number 1, have you seen the one where like the meth head shows up and is trying to sing Amazing Grace?
Oh yeah,
that's one of my favorites.
I don't think they have that one on here. Number 1, the casket that fell down the mountain. In October of 2020, in the Chinese province of Yunnan, the family of a deceased 73-year-old woman had gathered to lay her to rest. The mourners were performing a traditional funeral procession carrying a 550-pound casket up mountainous road. At one point, they had to haul the coffin up a steep cliff with a rope. But as the pallbearers hauled up the casket, the rope snapped. The coffin tumbled down the hill and crashed onto 3 other pallbearers. All of them got taken to the hospital, but luckily nobody was seriously hurt. Another silver lining is that the casket wasn't occupied when the accident happened. The woman had been cremated, and the pallbearers were taking the coffin to a cemetery so her ashes could be placed in it. I think it would have been funnier if there was a body.
Well, it's kind of like, why'd you waste your money on the coffin? Just throw her ashes off the cliff.
That's kind of true. If you're getting cremated, like, why spend the money on the casket?
If I was one of those pallbearers, I'd be pissed off. Why am I dragging this heavy-ass coffin up this fucking cliff? Maybe that's what happened. Maybe they were pissed off and like, oh, I'm fucking sick of this, and he's just trying to haul it up, and he's like, oh, oopsie doopsie.
That woman making her funeral arrangement, she's like, what's the heaviest casket you have?
Yeah.
I'll take one made out of wrought iron.
Maybe she knows like 6 fat people who need exercise.
You just put that in your will to fuck with people. Then you get to the top, they're like, surprise, she was cremated. It was full of rocks.
She could be like my mom. My mom does that to give me exercise. She'll be like, go upstairs and get this. And then I'll come back down, and she'll be like, oh, and get this too. Yeah.
And then she just throws it in the garbage.
This is for your own good.
Yeah.
Number 2, American businessman faked his death and beat his wife. Lord Timothy Dexter was an American businessman in the 18th century. He was famed for his eccentricity, and he definitely has earned that reputation. Dexter knew people thought he was a weirdo and suspected that his peers didn't respect him much. So he put them to the ultimate test. He faked his own death to see how much they would grieve for him. Dexter's family was in on the stunt, and he'd instructed them to act heartbroken at his fake funeral. On the day, his son tried drinking his sham sorrows away, and his daughter wept inconsolably. His wife, though, didn't shed a tear and even dared to smile. Furious, Dexter called her into the kitchen, scolded her, and even gave her a few good whacks with his cane. When the funeral guests heard the commotion, they entered the kitchen, so Dexter revealed his plot and proceeded to act like nothing unusual at all was going on.
Just beat my wife.
Number 3, a porn film at a funeral.
Oh,
Simon Lewis and his
hopefully not with the dead person.
Simon Lewis and his toddler son Simon Lewis Jr. died tragically in a car crash on New Year's Eve in 2016. Hundreds of heartbroken friends and relatives gathered at Thornhill Crematorium in Cardiff, UK, to pay their respects to the father and son. During the funeral home staff was supposed to play a video about Lewis's life, but when they pressed play, one of the 4 TV screens at the funeral home instead started showing a porn film. The sex flick wasn't on the screen just for a brief moment either. It played for 4 full minutes until an engineer managed
Until
to set the
completion.
According to the Cardiff Council, responsible for supplying the TV screens to the funeral home, said that it was impossible for anyone to play or download anything on the computer hooked to the screens. They suspected that the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth-enabled TV may have picked up a signal from somewhere on its own. I mean, wouldn't it have still had an off switch somewhere?
Yeah.
Well, I've heard of even like the monitors at McDonald's.
Oh yeah.
Like they can be Bluetooth, and people have hacked them and put porn up on them. So if you don't know who's doing it, I probably could have unplugged the TV in about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. It seems like they could have done something within 4 minutes. Number 4, contaminated funeral beer kills 69 people.
Oh,
Nice.
Jesus. 69.
Not nice.
Not nice.
In Mozambique, it's traditional to serve a local beer called Pombe during funeral services. The tradition was observed at the funeral of a newborn who died shortly after birth in January of 2015. 2 batches of Pombe were served at the funeral, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Those who had the beer in the morning were fine, but the afternoon guests fared less well. After having the beer, the guests quickly started experiencing violent diarrhea and muscle pain. Eventually, 196 guests were hospitalized, while 69 of them died, including the mother of the child to be buried. During investigation, officials discovered that the Pombe was contaminated with boncrecic acid. The toxic substance is extracted from the crocodile gallbladders. According to tradition in many African countries, crocodile gallbladders must be buried in front of several witnesses to stop them from being used as poisons. Authorities suspect that someone may have intentionally poisoned the funeral beer. Sounds likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not something that accidentally plops in there.
Yeah, crocodile gallbladder juice. And then number 5, the woman who sat up from her coffin. In 1950, doctors in Blackville, South Carolina declared that 30-year-old Essie Dunbar had died from a fit of epilepsy. Her funeral actually proceeded without incident, and Dunbar, laying in her coffin, was safely buried. Unfortunately, Dunbar's sister arrived late at the funeral. The mourning woman begged the minister to have her sister dug up so that she could see her one last time. The minister agreed, and so Dunbar's coffin was picked up from the grave. But when they opened the lid, the supposedly dead woman sat up and smiled. Understandably, the event gave the entire town quite a shock. For years afterwards, the local community treated Dunbar with suspicion, going so far as to claim that she was a zombie. Dunbar didn't really care, though, and proceeded to live for another 47 years. Fun fact, she outlived the doctor who pronounced her dead.
Dang.
But it's weird, though, because you would have thought that if she was buried alive, she would have been freaking out down there. And they say that when she opened it, she just sat up and smiled.
Also, what if they opened it and found out she obviously woke up and then died?
That would be bad, too.
That'd be a bad.
There's all these scratch marks. And
oh, not good.
Yeah. All of them pretty bad, but yeah, the one where someone poisoned and killed 69 people, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't think I'd be drinking that beer anymore.
So if you ever have to do a Bear Grylls on, what was it, crocodile, don't eat the gallbladder.
Yeah, crocodile gallbladders apparently have poison in them. All right.
Man, I mean, target one person, but killing a whole wedding of people or funeral of people, that's
a big target.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. AJ, back to you.
all right. Satirical website snares woman seeking to kill her ex-husband. A satirical website called rentahitman.com that was created as a school project received a request from a Michigan woman who had an issue with her ex-boyfriend. The contacts head off an investigation that has landed her in prison. Wendy Lee Ween, 52, of South Rockwood, was sentenced Thursday to 7 to 20 years in prison after a plea agreement. She had initially been charged with solicitation of murder and using a computer to commit a crime. Her ex-husband watched the sentencing via Zoom but did not make a statement. In July 2020, Wayne filled out a form on rentahitman.com asking for a consultation. The site had been created as a test in 2005 by Bob Innes for a class involving cybersecurity. He had left the site live on the internet after the class was done and was shocked when he checked in its inbox 3 years later and found hundreds of emails from strangers seeking asset extraction. Since then, when he receives a request for a hitman, he has turned over the information to law enforcement authorities. In the Ween case, an undercover officer from the Michigan State Police contacted the woman, and she agreed to pay $5,000 for her ex-husband's murder. Though Innes's website looks professional and its forms are functional, its facetious nature would be obvious to most people. It refers to satisfied clients, children and adults, and promises that proprietor Guido has solutions for those who are being bullied at the gym or want to make a troubled relationship disappear. One purported customer testimonial reads, "They handled my disgruntled employee issues promptly while I was out of town on vacation. Nobody looking at it could have believed this website was real, but you did," Monroe Circuit Judge Daniel White told Ween at the sentencing. He said her actions were comical and would be comical were the intent not so serious. At the hearing, Monroe News said Ween apologized to her family and her ex-husband and said, "At the time, I was going through so much I couldn't catch my breath. If I could go back and change that day, I would." I mean, she sounds like a real special case. Like, if she fell for this website and saw testimonials and, like, common sense would tell 90% of people, I think, 95% of people that this is not real, she went for it. I don't know.
You're going to catch the dumbest ones?
Yeah. That's what I think they say with serial killers. Like, if they're really dumb, then they get caught. Like, if they're, like, below 80 IQ.
I don't know.
I mean, that's what it sounds like here. She's just one of the dumb people. Smart people are out there getting people killed the other way.
I listened to a podcast a while back about the dark web, and the guy said like there's a lot of sites on the dark web that pretend like they're order a hitman type sites, but really it's just this guy stealing people's money. And he said like a lot of them were operated by the same guy, and he was just like raking in the dough.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose somebody's going to test it.
Yeah.
Can't go to the cops. Can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's not like he can be like, "Oh, this guy stole my money."
Yeah.
I was just trying to order a hitman to kill somebody. There was actually years ago a guy from our small hometown in Montana that was arrested for the same thing. He was found trying to order a hit on. It was either his wife or his ex-wife, and so he was arrested.
Like you're gonna pump into a scam or a Fed or something. Somebody's gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for most people, it probably doesn't go well. They probably either just lose their money or they get caught.
Yeah, I would think so. Or, I mean, even the rest of your life, you're thinking, like, what if that other person, who I paid to do this, like, what if he gets caught? And
Right. Right.
I don't know.
Alrighty. Are we ready for Manifesto Round 2?
Texas woman, back to Texas. Texas woman allegedly tries to buy baby at Walmart for $500,000.
Dang.
Sold.
I mean, if you're trying to buy a baby, maybe this is your thought. Is like, I'm going to go find somebody poor at Walmart. I'm going to try to buy their baby.
Why not just adopt?
Yeah, if you have 500, if you're well off enough that you have 500,000, like you definitely have enough money to adopt.
But they check in on you. I don't know. I don't know what
like, we want a kid we can beat without fear.
I want a baby today.
Yeah, she might have had some nefarious purposes because she's trying to get off the grid and
just
buy a baby on the side.
And when I was doing real estate, I talked to this woman, and She's probably like 60, but she said like her mom was probably like had some mental issues like back in the day. So this would probably be like 50s, 60s or something. But she said that her mom sold like one of her sisters. I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But she's like, yeah, today she'd probably be diagnosed with schizophrenia or something. I was like, what the fuck was going on in this country?
Like, who she'd sell her? Who did she sell the sister to?
Well, I mean, I know like during the Depression, like people would sell their kids. They're like, you know, you can't take care of them. Maybe somebody else could. But
We got extras if the price is right.
but yeah, it's crazy.
You know, they used to mail children back in the day. Yeah, you could actually mail your child. Like, I don't know how many kids were mailed. I think it was like over 1,000 or something. But none of them were ever lost.
Huh. Yeah, that wouldn't be very good for your business. You only lose 5% of the kids.
You just had to stick postage on them.
Big old stamp.
Yeah. Right on the forehead. Return to sender.
All right. Well, AJ, you had the COVID a while ago. So this might pertain to you. I don't know. Rare COVID side effect. Man experiences horrendous penis pain.
Yeah, that's not a good symptom.
Yeah.
More than 2 years into the pandemic, we know COVID-19 causes all manner of side effects. But now we unfortunately have to add a new one to the list. There's an additional level of horror to all the guys out there since this effect hits where it hurts the most. Namely, it causes agonizing pain in your penis. We know all this because we have a peer-reviewed medical report of the first such case. The unfortunate victim is an anonymous 41-year-old Iranian gentleman who had to go to the hospital due to his painful dong. Writing in the journal Clinical Case Reports, radiologist Syed Morteza Bagheri from the Iran University of Medical Sciences says that the man initially received a positive result from a COVID test. His symptoms were mild, some fever, some coughing, but they passed without medication. 3 weeks later, the man was about to have an intimate moment with his wife, but in the middle of doing the deed, his erect penis began to hurt. We're not sure if he powered through the pain to finish his lovemaking, but we do know that his suffering didn't stop there. The man gritted his teeth for 3 days, but finally he just couldn't take it anymore and had to go see the doctor. Upon examination, the doctor discovered that the man had thrombosis of the deep dorsal penile vein. In layman's terms, there was a blood clot in the middle of his shaft. Man, and as someone who's had blood clots, that does not sound good.
Yeah, at least you didn't get in the dick.
Yeah. Knock on wood, literally. And this wasn't just a minor obstruction either. According to Morteza Bagheri's article, there was no blood flow in the penis vein whatsoever. We probably don't need to tell you that having no blood flow isn't good news for any part of your body, and it certainly wasn't good for the man's genitals. The doctors immediately prescribed rivaroxaban, which is what I think I'm on now, a blood-thinning medication to the poor man. Luckily for him, the drugs worked. 2 months after starting the treatment, patient's symptoms were completely disappeared, and he had no penile pain during erection and sexual disturbances anymore, wrote Morteza Bagheri. All's well that ends well. The man didn't lose his little guy to gangrene and is able to satisfy his wife again. He'd probably better keep it vanilla, though, Morteza Bagheri noted that the man still feels mild pain at the site of the blood clot upon pressure.
The doctor is like, missionary only. No doggy for at least 2 months.
But what makes doctors say that the man's penis pain was a result of COVID? Couldn't it have been caused by pretty much anything else? In theory, yes, but the fact of the matter is that there's no other reasonable explanation. The man's medical history showed no indication that he was prone to suffer from blood clots. Neither had he received any injuries that could have caused the clot. On the other hand, COVID-19's tendency to cause blood clots is well documented. Roughly 20 to 50% of hospitalized patients with COVID-19 infection have abnormal coagulation tests, which can cause thrombosis and microvascular occlusion. Morteza Bagheri wrote, however, this is the first time doctors have seen COVID cause deep vein thrombosis, so the Iranian man had the questionable honor of making medical history. May his sacrifice help other people who may encounter the same problem. Although the Iranian man's case is rare, it's not the first occasion where men around the world have suffered from COVID-related penis problems. The Sun reported one such case in March of 2021. A 69-year-old Ohio man hospitalized and placed on a ventilator due to COVID suddenly got an erection that lasted 3 hours. The culprit was, as you probably guessed, a blood clot. When ice packs failed to help the man's penis calm down, the doctor eventually had to use a needle to drain the blood from his shaft. Although that solved the erection problem, there's no happy ending. The man later died after his lungs stopped working. In July 2020, a 62-year-old Frenchman experienced a similar emergency. He had been rushed to the hospital due to COVID-19 related respiratory failure, and the doctors were hooking him up to a ventilator. That's when they discovered that the sedated man had previously had a previously unidentified priapism, wrote the Sun. In other words, his flag was at full mast. The doctors again tried applying an ice pack, but even after 4 hours of treatment, it had no effect. So out came the needle again. As the doctors drained blood from the man's penis, they discovered multiple dark blood clots. They concluded that the clots were due to COVID. Let these cases be a warning to every man out there. Stay safe. You have a lot at stake.
Give me the vaccine.
I'll take 3 booster shots, please.
Although the vaccine has caused a lot of blood clots, and that's probably why. It probably has to do with COVID. I actually think I got my booster shot, and I think for a couple days, I think I could feel that clot in my lung a little bit more, the one that never quite went away completely. You know?
Oh, it hasn't dissolved?
Well, according to the doctor I saw, sometimes they never do. So I think I just have one that didn't quite dissolve all the way. But yeah, I think there's something to that. I think the COVID and the vaccines do. I mean, I still recommend people get the vaccine, but I think they do like thicken people's blood. And actually, I have a coworker. He said he got a blood clot after taking the vaccine as well. So it does happen.
Nephew just got vaccinated.
Yeah. She was debating it. Apparently, the doctor talked her into it.
Yeah, the doctor was very adamant.
But I mean, they had both already had it, so I don't really see the need, but it's done, I guess.
Yeah, you would have thought they would have had some antibodies already.
Yeah, at least for like a period of time.
All right, AJ, round 3.
All right. ABC, I think it's like an Australian broadcasting channel, apologizes over video of twerking dancers at Australian Navy ship launch. Think of a Navy ship launch, and you probably envisage champagne bottles smashing against hulls, starched uniforms, and some sort of military band.
I want to see someone twerk it off.
Yeah. Let's twerk this ship into
knock
service.
this ship into the ocean with his big old ass.
Yeah. Christen it with a BBL. You don't imagine women in lycra hot pants, crop tops, and red berets twerking in front of veterans. That is, not unless you were in Sydney on Saturday. Footage has gone viral of the 101 Doll Squadron dance troupe performing at the launch of the Navy's $2 billion warship, the HMAS Supply. But all is not quite as it appeared in national news coverage, as ABC has been forced to admit. It has apologized over its editing of the event, which suggested that the group shook their backsides in front of the Navy's top brass and other VIPs. An ABC TV clip widely shared on social media appeared to show the Chief of the Defense Force and Governor General reacting to the dancers as they performed their energetic routine at the Garden Island Naval Base.
Give them the old salute.
The Defense Force was criticized for sanctioning what was largely considered inappropriate entertainment, but it has since insisted that dance was not part of the official naval ceremony. And although Governor General David Hurley was present at the event, he arrived after the dance show had ended. I contacted the Navy on Sunday regarding the dancers at the HMAS supply commissioning. They finally got back to me yesterday to say that the dancing happened prior to the arrival of His Excellency the Governor. So I guess it's not as bad because the governor wasn't there to get booty shaked at him.
I heard there was a lot of semen there.
The 101 Doll Squadron has since hit out at the deceptive editing of the news clips. saying they felt exploited by the misleading coverage. We are very disappointed at ABC. So basically, they're all upset that it looks like they were just like grinding for, you know. But I mean, this is a giant war machine that's meant to kill people.
It costs $2 billion. I mean, there's some cause for celebration here.
Yeah.
That's the treatment veterans should get, though.
Yeah, I would think that's exactly what they should be doing, like having a big party for this crazy warship. It's over the top like crazy. What is this pomp and circumstance?
I'm gonna join the Navy, and then you're out on sea with like 1,000 other dudes.
Yeah,
Like, what the fuck was I thinking?
these guys need these women to dance for them right now.
For Veterans Day, they should just go to that street where they do Mardi Gras, and they just take all the old ass veterans down the street, and like, there's just like women like grinding on them and flashing them.
Yeah, but only half of that street, because if you go further down, it's dudes dressed as women.
Keep on rolling.
Is Canal Street or Bourbon Street?
I don't know.
Bourbon Street, I think. Yeah, I've been on that street. I did a trick with my friend, actually. I would tell everybody it was his birthday and to give him a kiss. And it worked like 50% of the time. Yeah.
The trannies.
I didn't say which 50%.
50% of the time, they had a dick 100% of the time. All right. Manifesto, round 3.
So I think just last week we had the hot mic from the judge. This week, the old hot mic comes up again. Only this time, Commander-in-Chief.
Oh, I like saw a headline of this story.
So yeah, there was like a press conference and it was ending, and like the journalists are kind of following out and they're yelling different questions or something. One of them was like, "Do you feel that inflation is an asset to the election?" or some bullshit like that. And like Biden's just standing there. I guess he thinks the mic's off. He's like, "Yeah, it's a huge asset. More inflation. Stupid son of a bitch."
Yeah, I think it was like a Fox News guy, like maybe like Steve Doocy or somebody like that.
I was like, well, I mean, I guess you kind of have that coming.
Yeah, he's right. It was a stupid fucking question.
Oh man, I could never be a reporter. I'd ask something that's so stupid, I'm sure.
Well, like a lot of times those things are so structured, like that, like you know if you're allowed to ask a question or not, and if not, they're just like, "Fuck you."
That's true. Yeah, they do kind of lay it out. Like, look, this is what you can talk about. This is what you can't. Yeah.
Anything more?
No.
Well, I think I found like the best X-Men power here. Instagram star claims she can reach climax using just her mind. If you could achieve an orgasm using just your mind, how many times a day would you test whether it still works? Would you zone out phone calls for a quick 5 minutes? Would you get anything done? Well, one Instagram star claims that she can climax using her mind and even prefers it to having sex. But perfecting her technique has come at a price. She had to give up alcohol and meat. Marcella, with her husband...
Man meat.
I don't know. This article's written poorly. Anyway, Marcella Iglesias, 44, is so in tune with her body that she can easily achieve an orgasm through sheer willpower and says it is much more satisfying than having sex or masturbating. Although getting herself off without touching is now a fairly easy task for the mom of one who has spent years perfecting the technique, there are a few tricks that can help things along, including detoxing her mind. On top of ensuring she has a clear head, the model, who refers to herself as the Queen of Hollywood on Instagram, has given up alcohol, doesn't eat meat, and has swapped butter for ghee, Ghee. I've never heard of that.
Basically, it's just butter, and you kind of simmer it until all the water's out of it.
Oh, okay.
That's all ghee is.
All in an effort to achieve better orgasms and elevate her mind. I mean, that's a lot to give up. Marcella, who has 361,000 followers on Instagram, said, Quote, I am more like a mind stimulation person. I don't need to be touched to feel aroused. Ambiance is very important, but my mind controls the whole situation. I can transfer myself to anywhere that I want. My favorite place to let my imagination wander is when I'm driving my supercar around the beach area near my home in LA. That sounds safe.
Yeah. She's orgasming on the road.
Yeah, we'd all like that, to be honest, she continued. I imagine being on a deserted island where the weather is very hot and the ocean is warm and nobody is around. Then this amazing being comes from nowhere and he feels very hot, but he doesn't necessarily have to look human. It is more like an energy that I feel. I've stopped consuming any type of alcohol. I don't eat acidic foods or meats. I've stopped using toothpaste with fluoride in it and also consume ghee rather than butter. I want to be as clean as possible so I can elevate my state of mind in different situations. Marcella added, I have always been fully satisfied with my sexuality and had a very open mind, but since doing this practice, I can achieve such an incredible orgasm. However, despite her orgasm skills, Marcella also revealed that she got a treatment known as the O shot in 2019 to heighten her climaxing experience even further. The treatment is a drug-free, non-surgical solution that uses the patient's own platelet-rich plasma, PRP. It is injected into the numbed area near the clitoris and upper vagina and claims to give patients increased libido, stronger and more frequent orgasms, greater clitoral arousal, and the ability to have vaginal orgasms. It's all coming out now, Marcella explained. It definitely feels more sensitive down there. I would recommend it to anyone. That combined with my imagination, and I don't need to touch myself or have sex to climax. I'm completely independent. Wow.
I mean, I can do that too. It's called a wet dream, but I can't do it awake.
But can you do it on command?
I've heard of hand freeze orgasms, but yeah, I don't think I've ever met anyone that claimed to be able to do it.
That's what I'm saying. This would be the best X-Men power.
I don't think it's that great if you're a dude.
Well,
I just came in my pants.
that's true. There's a little more clean up, I guess.
I wear adult diapers. It's not because I shit myself.
At the end of the day, I throw it away and it shatters in a million pieces.
I don't know. I think it's a good thing my mind doesn't like control how often I get orgasms and stuff. I'd be getting them like every 5 seconds if that was the case.
Yeah, it seems like you might like just burn your brain out or something.
Yeah.
Nature forces you to take a break.
But the fact that she's like, oh, I like to do it when I'm driving my car.
Yeah.
That's what sounds.
Yeah.
And these are like pretty like, they have to be pretty graphic and detailed in her mind. So imagine she like really sees it.
She's like in a
there.
meditative state.
Yeah.
Maybe she's got a Tesla. You come out of it and people are just like watching you.
Yeah, I want to see the cop that pulls her over.
There's just a pile up.
Women drivers.
This is what they're doing.
We know why now. They've all been coming.
Selfish. Watch the road. Stop thinking about.
Oh man. All right. I guess we still got some time. AJ, you got anything else?
Let's see what I got here. Okay. Should I go with this one or should I go with the pot brownies for the old people? I'm going to go with the old people. All right. South Dakota seniors end up in hospital after accidentally eating weed brownies.
So you guys did this to your dad, right?
Yeah, I did this to my dad once. Several seniors from South Dakota needed medical attention recently when they accidentally consumed weed brownies. Several seniors, is this a repeat? Irina Karonda took the brownies to her Tuesday night card game. thinking they were normal treats. What she didn't know was her son, Michael, a 46-year-old teacher, had brought them back from a trip to Colorado. Around 8 p.m. on January 4th, the Bonhomme County Sheriff's Emergency Dispatch started receiving calls reporting possible poisoning. Every one of the patients were at the Tabor Community Center earlier for a card game. The next day, the sheriff went to Coronda's home, and she told him her son had made the brownies. The remaining brownies were taken for testing. Marijuana is legal in Colorado, but not in South Dakota. Michael Coronda admitted to bringing back 1 pound of THC butter with him, according to KTIV. He faces a charge of possession of a controlled substance. He was released on $3,000 bond.
No.
I mean, I think it's funny, because like it's not a dangerous thing, These old people just had marijuana one time.
You just like they're just going through their day and they're like, "What the fuck's going on? Something's wrong.
Yeah,
Something is wrong, Betty. I might be dying."
It reminds me of this cop who tried pot brownies with his wife and called the police, like the ambulance. He was like, "I think we're dying."
Is this a story we did where there was a guy who he took a bunch of drugs and killed his imaginary friend and then turned himself in?
Oh, what?
I don't remember
that story.
Whoa.
Should definitely cover that. But I mean, I feel bad for the guy though, because he brought a pound of cannabis butter and now he's in trouble because his mom accidentally took those brownies to the game.
I definitely wouldn't have told him how much I had.
Well, they probably yeah, I don't know if he told them or they found it or what.
I'd be
he admitted to it.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, it's not a way you want to go down for either one of them.
Well, we still got a few minutes on the clock. You got anything for us?
So just in case we didn't have enough supply chain issues, apparently we're not going to let truckers pass from Canada or Mexico unless they're vaccinated. And I guess Canada's doing the same thing. So I was like, this is it's like things are already fucked up, guys. Why are you adding to the problem?
Is Mexico doing the same thing?
I doubt it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I read somebody tweeted because we got this going on, and then there's the Russia-Ukraine thing, and they're like, Canada's standing apart against Russia. They're not going to let anyone cross the border unless they're vaccinated.
Yeah, I don't know if I thought this was a joke or not, but somebody showed what was an African leader, talking about a cannon he had.
Okay.
And he was like, and if Russia invades Ukraine, we're going to war with Russia. And it was like this cannon. I was like, what?
This is war.
Yeah, we're not going to do anything about Ukraine. I don't think so.
I kind of wouldn't think so. I don't know. You never know when it's a good time for America to go to war.
I mean, we're not going to have a brawl with Russia over Ukraine.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to fuck with Russia.
Yeah. We'll just sanction them some more.
Well,
yeah, it sounds like a lot of European countries are threatening to sanction them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, sanction Russia if they mess with the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Russia just needs to cool their jets.
They need to calm down.
They need some of that
brownies.
Yeah, they need some of that THC butter.
Yeah. I know a guy in South Dakota.
Putin's one of those guys who won't drink or eat anything someone else gives him, though.
Oh, yeah. I think he's avoided.
He's poisoned too many people.
Yeah. He was about to get poisoned one time, and he was like, yeah, you try this instead of me. He's very cautious. I would be too.
Maybe that's what you do. Putin gives you a drink. You're just just knock yourself out, baby.
Yeah. You go first.
He's like, nah, I drank.
Do you got any other short story we can go out on? I got one more story, but it's a little bit longer than what we need.
Yeah, this is kind of fluff and stupid, but apparently his mom's been celebrating her kid's birthday on the wrong day for like a few years.
What, she just forget?
Well, she like tried to make a doctor's appointment for like, I don't know, third year or something, and then she was like trying to give her the birthday. They're like, that's not the birthday, and she's like, yes it is, and then she went back to Facebook and checked, and like she was wrong.
Oh my god!
She's like, oh yeah, you were born on like the 25th.
So her kid was like 3 years old at this point.
Yeah, it was like, I was still like,
Dang,
young, but
you would think you'd remember at that point. It's still early.
like I forget the years my kids were born. I'm like, what? You're like 9 now?
I know the years, man.
Man, I tell you, there are some people that are so fucking bad at birth dates. Because I would do taxes, and there'd be people that would forget not only their kid's birthday, but their wife's birthday, who they've been with like fucking forever.
Yeah.
And like, I think I've even had like guys that like didn't know like their wives' like middle names and shit. And I'm just like, do you guys talk to each other? What the fuck's going on?
Like, you would think the question would just randomly cross your mind at some point.
You're like, shit, I used to know this.
But yeah, like all the time that shit would happen. I'm just like, God damn, like you can't remember this shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget so much shit.
I mean,
I don't even remember how old I am. I'm like that magic age now. I'm like 40, low 40s.
yeah, I'm actually getting to that point where like I was like, I know I have a birthday coming up, but like when, like how old am I gonna be? I had to like do the math real quick.
Yeah.
I've been there.
All right, now we made it over the limit. Wow. Anybody who watch, we do thank you very much. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe both to the YouTube feed and your podcast service of choice. Leave us a 5-star review. Give us thumbs ups and comments and all that good jazz. And guys, where can people follow you on Twitter if they're so inclined?
I am at a name for this too, and that's number 2.
At Unsolicited SUG.
And you can, of course, find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that is going to do it for all of our shenanigans of Poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one, stupid sons of bitches.